So Bryan, when it comes time that you might need to submit a claim, say you were robbed and you're now submitting that you want to be reimbursed for certain items, what if you can't remember everything that maybe got taken or don't know specifics about it? What's one way to safeguard yourself to know that, let's hope it doesn't happen, but if it did, you know kind of how to proceed with your insurance company on what was taken?
Sure. Most homeowner policies, the personal property isn't a cash settlement for the full amount unless there's some sort of itemization. It is important to be able to know what you had, because they're not going to just write out a check for the $200,000 or $300,000 worth of personal property if the house was to burn to the ground if you didn't really have that amount. So I don't know about you, but it would be very difficult for me to remember how many pieces of sporting equipment or the kids' toys or shoes, suits, all that sort of thing. It'd be very difficult for me to know what I had. So it's always a good idea, and it doesn't take that long, to just get out your mobile phone and walk through the house. Just video your garage, video the closets, open up the dresser drawers, open up the cabinets, and more than anything, you're just going to use that as a memory aid. Okay. And so when you have to itemize, you can just watch that video and it'll say, oh yeah, I had this set of collectibles that I would have forgot had I not done this video. So it's just a good idea. And you can hire outside companies to do that for you if you'd like to. It's not very expensive, but it's also pretty simple to do it yourself.
What if you had a very expensive piece of jewelry that you kind of assume is part of your insurance policy and is covered? Is there a certain limit as to when it might not be anymore?
That's a great question. Typically, homeowners insurance will have a limit on a few different items. They'll have a limit on jewelry. They'll have a limit on collectibles and fine arts. There might be a limit on guns or tools for certain perils. So it is good to look at the policy and see what those limits are. Now we'll just talk about jewelry for a moment. The standard homeowner policy will cover jewelry for $2,000 per item, up to $5,000 for all of your jewelry. So if you have an engagement set or an anniversary band or a Rolex watch, you're not anywhere near what you're going to need. So in those type of cases, you may want to consider scheduling that jewelry, where you actually identify that piece of jewelry, how much the value it is. You may have an appraisal done on that piece of jewelry, and you schedule it. And when you schedule it, you pick up some perils that wouldn't be covered under a typical homeowner policy. For example, if you schedule a piece of jewelry, you're going to pick up the peril of mysterious disappearance, which means that if you happen to leave the ring someplace, or if it falls off your finger in the pool or the lake, or if, let's say, you just hit that diamond against something and the diamond falls out and you don't realize it and you can't find it, well, that's covered under a scheduled piece of jewelry that wouldn't be covered under your standard homeowner policy. And then when we talk about some of the other items like fine arts, when you schedule a piece of fine arts, you introduce breakage. So if that fine art piece was broken, or a musical instrument that was high value, if that was broken, then you would have covered for breakage if it was scheduled, would not have covered for breakage if it wasn't scheduled. And then when you look at things like guns and tools, those things have coverage in the policy, but for the peril of theft, there's typically a cap. So let's say $5,000 is the cap. So if you have tools that are valued more than $5,000 or more than $5,000 in guns, and you want that theft peril all the way up to the total value, then you're going to want to add that additional coverage as well.
That would be good for a lot of my contractor friends to know, because I know they've had some things stolen off their trucks that are far more valuable than that. So good to know. All right. Great information once again. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.